My guest today is Mark Edward Scott, author of the novel Drunk Log. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, if someone listening hasn't yet heard about your novel Drunk Log, how would you describe the novel?
Well, I can't imagine no one's heard of it, but if I'm describing it, my elevator speech is Drunk Log is a story about a 30-year-old engineer who's responsible for the death of his 7-year-old nephew. And a year after that accident, he decides he can't take the guilt of it anymore. He's gonna kill himself. But before he does that, he's gonna go from bar to bar in his neighborhood, and then work his way down to the bridge, which he intends to throw himself off of.
Do you remember the original idea or impetus that led you to write Drunk Log?
Yeah, actually, it came from I was hiking Pikes Peak with some friends, and one of them was telling me about how she's a scientist, she's an astrophysicist, and she said, well, I just wanted to gauge how I felt with every drink, and so she takes a notebook pad with her and starts hitting bars in Athens, Ohio on a Friday night, and was keeping a record of everything she felt after every drink, like a scientist would, I suppose. So I asked her if I could have that idea. I got it in writing. She said yes, and then came back here to Cincinnati and was talking to a buddy of mine who's also a writer, and he loved the idea. So I said, well, I did some samples of how I want to write it, and he offered some suggestions, and ipso facto, there's a book in it. So and now 3, but yeah, that's how it happened.
That's great. What was your writing journey that led you to writing and getting this first novel published?
Oh, gee whiz. You'll have to cover a decades-long history of failed attempts at getting published. I actually started writing when I was 8. Probably not very good. My mom has kept a couple of the awards that an 8-year-old can win when they're writing crap. But, for an 8-year-old, I guess it's probably not crap. But, I finished my first book. Gee whiz. In 1994 is when I finished my first novel after a couple of failed attempts to complete one. And that still exists, and hopefully that'll be published in the next year or two. It has taken quite a long time. In between writing then and writing now, I had kids and a mortgage. So
sure.
That ate up a lot of my creative time.
Sure. I know how that is. When you were working on Drunk Log, did you sit down and outline the novel? Or as you said, it's going to be 3 novels. Did you outline the novels before you began writing? Or did you just kind of dive into the narrative initially and see where it took you?
Yeah. So for book 1, that's definitely what I did, the latter. I just, I had the story in my head. I knew what I wanted the main character to do, sort of as his physical path around the neighborhood. And so once I had that down, the way I write is I kind of let interesting things happen along the way, because you never know what's going to pop into your head. I don't want to be bound by, no, I have to do this,
Mm-hmm.
So, the story interesting things happen and do happen along the way. And now for book 2 and 3, because I was trying to sell it as a series, and this was an idea from my editor at the time on how to get published, he helped me outline the next 2 books so we could show that to the publisher about how we would handle this. And it worked. So I can tell you for book 2, I followed the outline pretty well, not completely. And then for book 3, I totally went off. I went off campus for book 3. because
So-
by the time I was writing book 3, the story, I had a different direction for what I wanted to see
Sure.
than the outline, and the publisher didn't care as long as I wrote the book.
So to clarify, are all 3 out now, or just the first one, Drunk Log?
All 3 are written. The first one is out. The second one is supposed to be out before Christmas. We're working on that now. And then the third one in the spring.
That's great. Have you started working on a new novel now that you've finished the 3?
That's an interesting question, because I had this one done, was looking for a publisher, and I'd started writing. I'm halfway through another book called 26 Miles, and then at least that's a working title. And so, yeah, I actually have that to go back to when I'm done editing book 3. I will start working on 26 Miles again, and I've got a backlist book or 2
Sure.
that my publisher is interested in publishing as well. So, yeah, I mean, my plate's thankfully full for the next year or so.
That's great. So your first novel is Drunk Log. Can you tell us the titles yet of book 2 and 3?
Yeah, book 2 is so this is Drunk Log: A Day in the Life is book 1. Or the series is called A Day in the Life series, because each book covers 8 hours of a 24-hour period. So book 1 goes from 4 to 12. Book 2, which is called First Date, goes from midnight till 8 in the morning. Book 3, which is called Drunk Log: Free Will, goes from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon.
Got it.
And the reason the first date occurs is because while he's roaming bar to bar, and writing in his log in this notebook that he's got with him, a bartender who has some experience personally with suicide gets a look at it while he's in her bar, and she decides to go find him and make sure he's okay. So their journeys become bifurcated, then come together at the very end of book 1. But after that, they're together for the entire next 2 books.
Got it. Given what you said earlier, that you finished your first manuscript or your first novel in 1994, and now it's 2022 and Drunk Log is published, what writing advice would you offer for those who are working on their own stories or novels?
Well, be patient. I think would be good. And there is a certain pragmatism. I learned a lot from a gentleman named David Tabatsky. Just stuff you think you know, and you do know, but then somebody's got to tell you and go, yeah, and confirm it for you. So when we were talking about publishing, he goes, you got to remember, Mark, that these acquisition editors and stuff, they have their own goals. They want to get promoted. They want to make money. Maybe they already had a risky book by the time, maybe they already had a first-time author by the time your book came across their desk. So that was actually sage advice, and I used that to get some sleep at night. But offering advice, keep writing. My agent, after we couldn't get a book called Burning Buildings published, and I self-published it, I said, well, what do I do next? She goes, write another book. It was very straightforward. Just write another book, because the idea is that you'll get better. Hopefully, if you're paying attention, you'll get better with every book that you're writing.
Got it.
So don't get discouraged, and keep writing, and just be patient, because you can. I'm in my 50s, so this is just now happening.
Got it. Well, what novels have you read recently that you enjoyed?
I actually just completed Hemingway, A Movable Feast, which isn't really a novel. It's a bunch of short stories, but it's lovely. It's just he's funny. He's self-deprecating. He's not, this weird macho guy you've come to believe. And I'm sure he was that as well. But the stories are, you can tell he's practicing. He's practicing his own writing skills. And some of the stories end weirdly abruptly. You're like, that's a crap ending, But he was trying to transition from being a reporter to, writing novels. So, and I think he actually wrote that later anyway. But regardless,
right.
I'm now reading a friend's novel called Wildfire: Rise of a Hero. It's a superhero fantasy book. It's quite good. It's the way the world she's built is funny, and you have these superhero companies in every major city, major metropolis, and it's well done. Next on the line, I actually am going to make my second run at Love in the Time of Cholera. So I had read or attempted to read 100 Years of Solitude.
Mm-hmm.
Got tired of referring back to the family tree in the beginning of the book. So I abandoned that, and now I'm going to try this other one where there's no family tree, where everybody's not the same name.
Right. Well, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you and your novels?
There is the Mark E. Scott author website, which will take you to Barnes & Noble or Amazon or just Goodreads. You can find it on Goodreads also.
Yeah.
So I think there's 35 or 40 reviews on Amazon. There's 8 or 10 on B&E or B&N. Goodreads has some reviews in it as well. I think Amazon has the most. So if you really want to explore and go, hey, what's this guy all about? It's safe to go to Amazon. And I've asked Amazon to cut out all the any stars less than 3, and they've complied. So, so there used to be 60, and now there's only 35.
Well, again, we've been speaking with Mark Edward Scott, author of the book Drunk Log, and his next 2 book in the series, or his next 2 novels in the series, are going to be coming out soon, as we discussed. The novel is on sale now, so go buy a copy. And Mark, thanks for doing this interview.
Thank you very much again for having me. I was very much appreciated.
Absolutely.